Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Monday, April 29th. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:01 PM. I'll have the roll call, please. Beth?
Select Chair, Mr. Roche.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Coy.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Selectwoman, Ms. Bergeron.
Here.
Selectwoman, Ms. Costa.
Here.
Please note for the record, we have Town Manager, Mr. Colby, with us.
Okay. Let's rise for the pledge. All right. Anyone here for public comment? I don't see anyone. We're moving on to the agenda. We have our first item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider a grant for $10,800 for hazard mitigation plan. I will open the public hearing at 6:03 PM. And tonight's public hearing is, we'll have Greg and the health officer, Patrick Howard, here to talk about that. So, or is this emergency management? Sorry.
Different hat.
Different hat.
Yes, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. So every 5 years, the state of New Hampshire, in accordance with federal government guidelines, has us update two documents. That would be our hazard mitigation plan and our emergency operations plan. Those that have been around on the board have seen both of these documents at one time or another. But the hazard mitigation plan is what we're looking at right now. It is a highly technical plan that requires a lot of input and work, and thus we don't do that planning in-house because it is so technically specific and time-consuming. So what happens is the state of New Hampshire put out a grant, and they put it out to all the communities that are eligible for hazard mitigation planning. So the hazard mitigation planning costs $12,000. That's a state set number. They do a 10% match from the town. So essentially the split is the state would be providing $10,800. The town would be providing $1,200, which is already built into the emergency management budget to do this planning. This planning would be through an outside vendor that we would bring in to help coordinate all the planning, do the technical documentation, facilitate all the feedback meetings for the community. And the root of the whole thing is to really identify what potential risks there are within our community and come up with a plan on how we're going to make sure that these potential risks don't come into actuality. So when you look at it, the breakdown is there's a whole bunch of numbers out there, but FEMA says essentially for every $1 of prevention, it equals, if you don't do it, $6 of restoration and recovery. So we try to get this planning done. This also opens us up for the opportunity to apply for additional hazard mitigation funding through the state based on the identified risks in the plan. This plan will then go on to feed into our emergency operations plan, where we'll do additional planning in-house on that one, on the risks that are identified, especially if it's not something that we can fix easily. In the past, this plan's identified things like failing culverts and other infrastructure projects that we have then been able to use or apply for and successfully get grant funding to use to replace these items so that it's not coming out of our taxpayers or out of our town budget. So overall, it's a pretty good deal, especially with the 10% share. Usually it's 20% on these type of grants. So that's what we're asking for today is the approval to accept the $10,800 from the state of New Hampshire in order to conduct this planning, with the town providing the $1,200 out of the emergency management budget.
Okay.
Questions?
So it's the grant's already been awarded?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not something you have to apply for, it's...
No, we've been awarded the grant. We are required by law to have the public hearing
Right.
in order to accept that. And then the state will actually not even move forward on it until we have the public hearing for it.
And how quick would you get the grant? Is it pretty quick or
It's-
is it 30, 60 days?
It's fairly quick. I anticipate it's going to take probably about 30 to 60 days. The period of performance runs through 2026. Ideally, we have this wrapped up by the end of the year so that we can move into the next phases of our planning and continue to do better for the town. We already do, as part of the whole process, we had to go through vendor selection. So we put out an RFP. We got the vendor selected, approved by the state of New Hampshire. So now this is the kind of the last step before actually moving forward with the implementation.
Any other questions from the board?
I'll make a
utilized
motion.
this vendor in the past?
I have not personally used them. I am familiar with them through other emergency management contacts in the industry. They come very highly recommended, and they did meet all the qualifications for the state of New Hampshire, as well as agree to come within the budgetary standards, because those vendors are not required to do that. But this one wanted to do the work.
I'll make a motion to
Hold on.
What, are you done?
No, not yet. We got to make it, we got to close the public hearing first.
Oh,
Mr. Colby, anything to add? Okay. Anyone from the public to speak on the public hearing for the grant? No? Okay. I will close the public hearing at 6:08 PM. And we'll take a motion for, to accept the grant.
sorry.
you.
I'll make a motion to accept the grant in the amount of $10,800. The town is responsible for a 10% match in the amount of $1,200. The total cost of the project is $12,000. This grant is from the State of New Hampshire Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. The funds will be used to update Plastow's hazard mitigation plan. I further motion to allow Town Manager Greg Colby to execute any and all contract and agreements related to the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program agreement.
I'll second that.
Motion by Tammy, second by Liz. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries 500. All right,
And just,
Thank you.
Yeah, to let you know that the process does include public feedback, town feedback, board feedback. So there will be opportunities for the public as well as members of the board to voice our opinions on any risks or hazards that they see in the community, and then on the strategies that we could implement to mitigate those risks.
Yes, once they look at it, it'd be great. Have them come in front of us and present it.
yes,
Everyone can see
excellent.
it.
There will be, at the end of the process, the board will have to vote again to accept the plan once it's finalized.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up on our agenda this evening, we have the Westville Road Main Street intersection discussion. We have Highway Supervisor Dan Garlington. Good evening,
How are
Mr.
you?
Garlington.
How's
How
things
goes
going?
it?
All right. I guess I'm here to,
Well, as a follow-up to, just to bring everyone up to date, as you know, we were here a couple of times. We have put the barrels out at Main Street and Westville Road. The state has come through and taken drone footage of that. Also, Mr. Garlington has himself observed a number of times at different times of the day, days of the week and the like, to see how the traffic is, anything that we're noticing and the like. And then we've also, taken any public input as well. I know at least one member of the board has passed along some input from that intersection. But so as part of that, we have reached back out. Dan and I had a phone call meeting with Corey from the state to just kind of touch base, see how things are going and what those next steps are. So, and that's where we're kind of at right now.
Like Mr. Kobe had said, I spent at least 45 minutes each day, not Sunday, just sitting back and watching the traffic and how it handled the change in the intersection. I picked different times. The first week I do it in the morning, one day I do it in the afternoon. And then what I try to do is follow up the following week. I did it the same time, same day. Like if it was a Tuesday at 3, I tried to do it a Tuesday at 3. I did do, I did observe Friday afternoons tend to be the biggest and the most traffic. So I did pick that to be my 4:30 to 5:30 thing, and it definitely was the busier of the times that I sat there. Some of the major things I did find is that most people became accustomed to it relatively quickly. I think people realized that they had to stop, they had to look, they had to, they couldn't go until the next guy, the guy in front of them went, instead of trying to push himself through the intersection. I did notice that a lot of people don't use their directionals, which probably didn't help the actual movement of the traffic. This guy didn't know he was going left, but to be honest with you, it didn't really matter because he couldn't go right anyway. So, other things I noticed is that the store that's at the intersection is really busy at certain times of the day, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. I noticed that some people backed in, some people pulled in, and to be quite honest with you, some people did both. Pulled in and then backed out and pulled. It was just they were pretty out of control. So I think that probably that the location and the parking of that store is going to be one of our larger challenges moving forward. No matter what, even if no matter what the state does with their traffic calming and all of that, I think that the activity at that store. What else? A lot of the traffic, I'd say Fridays, especially, more than half the traffic that comes out of Westville Road and takes a right is Massachusetts or out of state license registrations. And then the opposite of that, more than almost just about everyone that took a left onto Main Street off of Westville Road was a New Hampshire registration. So I'm curious to know how they're getting to 125, which I'm guessing they're coming down Chandler Avenue, and then they're coming back out Westville Road onto Main Street and trying to get away from the Chandler Ave intersection, going back towards Massachusetts.
So I guess at this point, are we going to continue with leaving the configuration the way it is at this point? Because it seems to be working out pretty well until we come up with the permanent
Yeah.
solution of putting in the.
You want to answer that, Greg?
Well, it's kind of, I don't know what the easy answer is. Yes, we can. We kind of talked a little bit about next steps, and I know Dan wants to, if we look at the intersection on the board, looking where the red is here, we're talking about putting a crosswalk across here. So Dan wants to add some barrels, because if we do a crosswalk here, we're going to have to take some of this corner here in order to make like a sidewalk to a crosswalk to bring it across that intersection. So as the next step, we'd like to put barrels on that side of the intersection where the red is right here, which will slow the traffic coming down from Town Hall to take that right-hand turn onto Westville. If we redesign this intersection, we're going to lose that corner anyways, because it's going to have to be right down, probably sidewalk or something along those lines,
Right.
so the pedestrian can stop before they cross that intersection. So that would be the next step.
Because, I'm sorry, Greg.
No, go ahead.
Part of the decision when they make, or when the state gets involved, when they do their traffic calming studies or whatever, is going to be to decide how they want to utilize a crosswalk along that intersection and try to incorporate it into the parking that they have at that store. to send a crosswalk. Generally speaking, you know, the crosswalk would go just in front of the stop bar. See where the stop bar is? Just to the, yeah, right there. That stop bar would come forward towards 125, and then the crosswalk would be in front of it. Well, that would unload the people walking across that crosswalk right in the middle of that parking lot.
Right.
So my thought is if we can try to make it so the crosswalk, the sidewalk comes down, yep, and makes it to about there, and then comes across, that puts the people that are wanting to walk, that puts them up against the store.
Right. Puts them in a little safer spot.
Right. And by reducing the amount of radius in that corner, which is what Greg had mentioned,
Right through here.
that would also be an opportunity to try to take some of that property to raise that sidewalk and then incorporate it wherever the decision is along that island that's going to be in the middle of Westville Road.
Right.
Because ultimately the crosswalk's is going to incorporate itself into that island, which will give people that are crossing, if they need a safe place to stop,
Right in there.
it'll give them whatever the width of that island, 3 or 4 or 5 feet, as a,
Considering how long this intersection is,
Right.
you know, for someone to cross. So it will give them a respite here to cross one lane and then cross the other and not be out in the middle of the road.
Right.
and one of the other things I saw is a good majority of the traffic that's coming south on 121A and taking a right onto Westville Road, then they don't necessarily have to slow down as much as the rest of that intersection.
No, they can keep on going.
They
Yeah.
no, they can take that corner at a pretty good. I'm not saying they're speeding. I'm just saying
Yeah.
they can go at a little bit faster clip than if we narrow that down. Then they literally have to slow down.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's really no reason for them to brake.
Yeah, and certain. Yeah, you're right. So that's what I'd like to try next. I'd like to keep what's there, and then incorporate by trying to reduce that radius on, I would call it the north part of that intersection.
That
Tammy?
corner makes me very nervous. So if cars are coming around there and you've got people crossing, and then you got traffic coming this way and turning, I think it's just too much chaos right there. I feel, I don't know, I don't think that's a great spot for a crosswalk. As I'm looking at it, I'm trying to see it play out, and it doesn't look good to
Fortunately,
me.
like, I'll walk that area all the time.
Yeah.
People walk across there now.
Around the corner and across.
Yeah, they will.
Absolutely, the opposite side of the road's even more dangerous
Yeah.
because
Right.
people try to pass you on the
Right,
right.
because they try to stay on the
there's-
sidewalk.
This is like an embankment right there, right?
I know.
You can't walk along that side of the road. You're right out in the middle of Main Street over there.
Well, that's
So,
me. I'll wave to you next time.
okay.
But yeah, but you'll see everyone on the other side. That's what they'll do. So they're already doing there. So putting a crosswalk there, I think makes sense. And if there's an island in the middle and you can stop halfway,
Right,
instead
you
of
don't-
saying, okay, I gotta go. Now you got a place to stop.
I'm okay with the stopping in the middle. I'm concerned with the cars going around the corner with the crosswalk and possibly having that blind spot where the people are crossing. That's my-
Ultimately, the state is going to have a lot to do with
The crosswalk?
the location of it.
Okay. Because
And I think a lot of that's going to be incorporated into their current, what do they call that? Is it a
Traffic,
tip?
the
Is it
traffic
a
Traffic
10?
calming.
Yeah, the traffic calming study that they're doing. I think they're going to try to, and the question was asked today in our meeting is the goal to incorporate or try to address the pedestrian traffic at this intersection as part of that study? And the answer was yes.
It should be.
I would think that a crosswalk would be benefit of having it down here. So if somebody's on that side of the road, they can walk and then cross over, and then vice versa, if they're here, cross over that way.
But we're also talking eventually, this is likely to be a three-way stop intersection. So a crosswalk there is not going to be, you're not going to be taking your life into your own hands across the road. It's going to be a stop signs on all directions.
Okay.
On all four corners, basically.
3 corners right now, because of May Ray being a little bit offset, it's kind of hard to incorporate that.
So anyone basically would have to come to a stop before you go on to Westville, right?
Yes.
And you're basically,
Okay.
you're building the framework for it to be a three-way stop by trying to tee off, turning into Westville. You're
Correct.
you're basically
Because my
teeing
goal,
it off.
my goal by putting those barrels on that radius is twofold. A, it's to try to slow the people that are going onto Westville Road from Main Street. They're really not restricted. And the second thing is to see if the turning patterns of the people that are utilizing the intersection, by taking away a little bit of that radius, to make sure that that traffic can still, maneuver around that. And it'll also give us an idea of how large of an island we can put and still not take away from the effects of the intersection. I mean, you got to keep in mind, I mean, we still got to accommodate to a certain degree trucks, and I mean, it's just the way of life. Everything we have is trucked somehow, and people get things delivered. So we still have to consider that, but we don't necessarily have to make it as easy as, as if they stayed out on 125. So I thought, and I think Greg was on the same page, is that if we put those barrels out for another couple, 3 weeks, to see what it does, see if it changes people's, thoughts, see if it, I saw, especially the 3 o'clock to 3:30 observations, a lot of kids walk from Pollard School. And and I saw them try to cross right at the stop bar, and I saw them go around the corner. I saw them go down even to almost to where it says Westville Road and try to cross there. So I think to try to control it the safest way we can. I mean, we're not going to be in a position to say it's the ultimate, but try to control to be the safest way to control the entire intersection would be the best thing.
Now, when you put in the barrels, are you going to have a place where you're going to direct pedestrians to be able to cross through those barrels?
I'm not going to address the crosswalk with the barrels. The goal is to try to see how much room we have by restricting the ability for people to drive on that radius.
Okay.
That's more or less my goal.
Is there going to be tape around the barrels, or is it going to be open so like pedestrians
No,
can
yeah,
walk
there'll
through
be
them? Okay.
it'll be just like the other side of the road. There'll be gaps between the barrels.
Gaps.
I bought 4 barrels anticipating,
Okay.
and we'll utilize the 4 barrels to create a new radius on that intersection and see where it brings us. And I figured I'm going to be on vacation to the May 20th, so can see how it goes between now and May 20th, and then we can relook at.
So I have a question. When you started observing it and then 2 weeks after it, did you notice any lesser traffic?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
it is deterring
Yep.
a certain amount
And I,
cross-through
I
traffic.
don't know, obviously I'm not a traffic person, but I made little notches of how many people turn left, how many people turn right. And believe it or not, it's almost the same.
50-50.
There's just as many people take a right as they do left. I mean, granted, there's times where more people take a left, but in the 45 minutes to an hour that I sat there. But I also saw that as the time went by, more and more people used their directionals. I also saw more and more people stopping on Main Street, if they can, to let people out. I saw more in that. I think that's why I say when I started this conversation, I think people, they got used to it.
Yeah.
And
Notice
it's a lot.
a
It was
level of courtesy come up, just sitting at the end of May Ray, watching
Yeah.
things go by.
Oh, I agree, because I'm on that road all the time. You're right, they are letting you out more off of West.
and that's exactly where I sat. I sat right on Mayray Avenue.
I haven't gotten I've gotten all positive feedback on it. I don't know about the rest of the board, but I haven't received any negativity over it, no negative comments. And I was waiting for it, but
Yeah.
everybody seems to be saying what we're saying. Like we feel like it's calming down a little bit in that intersection, People
I think it's-
actually stopping and paying attention to what's going on.
And I think on a whole different note, I think it's an opportunity to start to utilize our friends at New Hampshire DOT to help us, to understand that we're trying to make their corridor safer, and we're not just sitting back waiting for them. We're taking the initiative to see what works and what doesn't work for a relatively cheap amount of money. So I think in the long run, from the conversation we had today, I think they're going to be relatively receptive on helping us when we move forward with something permanent.
Yeah, did you say that they were flying the drone, that they've already done that?
Yes.
And what, did they give us any type of feedback on it?
No, they did not. So
They made some comments. One of their comments was very similar in reference to people not using directionals. They did it on the Tuesday we started it.
Yeah.
I believe that was the only time they did it. Did for roughly an hour. But it's difficult to see the other perspective from a drone.
Yeah.
You see it. That's what it's designed to do. But you can't hear the horns blowing, and as the 2 weeks went by, I just saw more and more people. I saw in reference to trucks, local people, local companies going to work in the morning and coming back in the afternoon. I really didn't see a large amount of
And what
away
type
from
of-
Plastow commercial vehicles.
And what type of feedback have you gotten? Positive, negative?
I talked to a few people that live in the area, and that was all positive.
How about for negative?
I really didn't get any negative comments directly to me. I don't go on Facebook, so I don't know what was put out on there, but I personally saw positive a lot. I'm going to be right honest with you, a lot more than I thought I was gonna.
Right.
I think I saw people really become accustomed or get used to it really, really quick. And do I think it's the fix everywhere? No. But I think at this situation where you're trying to get all these people that are trying to get off of 125 and use another road, if we can do something to control that, and I think we're going in the right direction.
So we'll move forward with those extra barrels
Yep.
on the other side, for the next few weeks, and we'll continue with the existing
Yep.
as well, and we'll take it from there. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with?
there is.
Okay.
The state brought up, given the success that we have had with this intersection, they wanted to speak to us on whether there would be support to do something similar at North Ave. Now, it would be similar, but not without putting the island in the middle. What it would basically, as you're coming up to Main Street from Massachusetts on North Ave, it would be putting in an island like this along the right-hand side
Yep.
so that the cars could not double stack at the intersection to go both ways.
So choke it.
So we would,
Choking that.
I think the feeling is the island would be fair game out there in the middle, the way people go through that intersection. But if we choke over that right-hand side into one lane, and that as a start with the eventuality of making that a three-way stop sign intersection as well. So the state was curious whether the board was in favor, would support that. The state even offered to come down at a meeting, of the board on a Monday night to discuss what that would look like as well, if you so desired. But
Who would be the ones that, I think having them come down and talk about it would be good, but who would be the ones putting up the barrels? Would that be us
we would be, yes,
Okay.
on behalf of the state.
on behalf of the state?
With
So
no other expectation of any further work on North Ave. We mentioned that to
Yeah, we
the
did.
state, to Corey, that, we are a little bit hesitant to accept that intersection, if you will. He said the district said that we could do it because they don't have the manpower.
Pretty much.
pretty much that they don't have the manpower to monitor barrels there and the like if we do that. But if we wanted to and were willing to, they would be fine with that without the expectation that they'd be like, well, if you're taking care of that intersection, here's the rest of North Ave, have at it. We basically flat out told them we don't want it if that's what's going to happen, and told them of our concerns.
Okay.
So
I think that will actually help with some of the so-called speeding down North Ave too, if we went this route.
Well, it might help, especially with the cut through, right? To Massachusetts,
Yeah,
cutting through and coming down.
as we're seeing,
They
it's
stack up
working
there more.
on Westville and Maine.
It'll be interesting to see how that works there. It's worth the test.
To be honest with you, there's probably only room for 2 or 3 cars that can slip by. If you're taking a left onto Main Street off of North Ave, there's probably only room for maybe 2 or 3 cars
Sure. Right.
before you got no room. So
Right.
I don't know if there's going to be that much of an effect in reference to moving people in and out of that, but I think it's all worth a shot.
Right.
How would you want to handle this? Do you want to have them come down, or do you need a consensus to move forward with putting the barrels up?
if you would support North Ave, I will reach out to Corey tomorrow and let him know that the board would, and see if he wants to come down.
How does the board feel? Are you guys all in agreement?
I think it's worth trying, right?
Yeah.
Anything's
Absolutely.
worth-
Barrels are
Cheap-
temporary.
Cheap Band-Aid to try and see if it works.
And,
That's-
and if it works, great. If it doesn't, then we know we got something else to do.
Right.
But I think the barrels are worth the test.
Think you have a consensus to
Okay.
move forward?
All right. We will do that.
All right, excellent. Great
One at a
work.
time though, right, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah, one at a time.
Thank you very much, Dan, for all your
welcome.
hard work with
Thank
that.
you.
While I'm here, if I could just really give you a quick synopsis of how Saturday went with household hazardous waste.
Oh, yes.
Real
great.
quick numbers is we had roughly 313 vehicles, 313 surveys were filled out. Some of the surveys, so some of the vehicles had more than one household on it, so it's not exactly how many houses we did, but it was a very busy day. Gifford was there, he saw it firsthand. And I think another successful hazardous waste day. We're going to thank Methuen Construction or the property maintenance guys over there for allowing us to utilize their parking lot, because without that, we couldn't have it there. Just
And
the cars were through their gate, and if you're looking at their building all the way around, it was the whole length of that building.
Yeah, I heard the line was huge.
But it was constant.
Yeah.
Yep. It was, but successful. We didn't turn anybody away. We had several people that brought things that they weren't supposed to, that were given business cards so that if they wanted to deal with it on a personal basis with the environmental company, we gave them that option so that we weren't just, leaving them with no option. So,
Excellent.
all right.
How many towns do we collaborate with on that?
6.
6 different towns?
Plastow, Hampstead, Atkinson, Kingston, Chester, and Danville.
Okay.
Plastow was around 120, Hampstead 44, Atkinson 55, Kingston 19, Chester 40, and Danville 36. So,
More than a third from Plastow.
which is
Wow.
par for the game. Every spring, it seems to be that way.
Excellent.
All right.
Great job.
All right.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All righty. Good stuff. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, approve updated right to know form. After our training on the right to know update, Beth went and took a look at our right to know request form that everyone has to fill out when they come in. And based on some of the information that was learned through some of the changes that happened, Beth went through and made an update to the form and wanted to put it before us for approval. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read it over. And you can see on the updated one, the notes section has probably 4 new sections. Let's see, so do you want me to read it? Should I read it?
Yeah, I don't think.
All right. Let's see, in the notes section, it says, number one, those seeking governmental records under RSA 91A from the town of Plastow will be required to make an appointment to view the records during regular business hours. Once records have been reviewed or have been viewed, copies will be made available upon request. There is a fee for paper copies and/or a USB drive. Governmental records will not be sent out via email without first coming in person to view such records. Some exclusions apply under RSA 91A:5 or as prohibited by another statute. 2, the right to know law's purpose is to provide the utmost information to the public about what its government is up to. If disclosing the information does not serve this purpose, disclosure may not be required. Number 3, the town has 5 days to determine whether or not record exists, whether or not the record is disclosable, and if it is disclosable. The town needs to determine how much time it will take to make the requested records ready for review or copying. Number 4, town staff will not research information if it is readily available. So that is really what we're adding to the form, and we do need to make a vote on that as well.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I just noticed that the fee for the, per page and the fee for the USB drive isn't on the new form.
You are
Don't you think we
correct.
should have that fee on there?
Should that be on there, Beth?
And do you think that the fee should be a little higher now because everything's gone up? Or do we think that that's acceptable, the 50 cents?
I think there's a standard rate. You can't charge more than,
Okay,
yeah, that was,
and that's still in effect, that
yeah, I think
standard
that's,
rate?
I
Okay,
believe that's still in effect, so
Yeah.
you can't charge more than what.
I just think that should be listed somewhere on here, whether it up on the top, in the corner or something.
Yeah, so we can
Maybe
still fit that
even
on
under
there.
the seal, just put
Okay.
paper copies, 50 cents per page.
Yeah, it's just really what you take
Yeah.
right at the bottom from one, you just
Or
move
right
it
at the
over to the
bottom.
other.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
Or maybe add it into 4 and then,
Yeah, right after 4.
Just right at the bottom there.
Item 3, I would just add to say the town has 5 business days to determine whether or not the records exist.
Okay,
Yep.
yep.
yeah.
Okay. All right, and then, let's see, all right, can I get a motion?
I'll make a
To
motion to
approve?
accept the request for information policy that's been updated.
Okay, motion from Liz, can I get a second?
Can we add to that, just to make sure that
With-
the discussion we just had is added?
With the added corrections?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Second by Tammy. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. All right, so next one is approve BOS rules of procedure and guidelines. So at the last meeting, we handed out our Board of Selectmen rules of procedure. I believe Mr. Colby suggested we added something on page 5. It was the ad for the treasurer. I believe at town meeting in 2020, there was an article added to appoint the town treasurer as under the duties delegated by town meeting. So that's all that's been added to this. So if we could just get a motion to approve, there's a draft motion there.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated Board of Selectmen rules of procedure formerly known as BOS guidelines as discussed at the April 15th, 2024 board meeting and review tonight.
Okay, you get a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion carries 500. All right, and next up, we have appointment of the town treasurer. I'll hand that over to Mr. Colby.
So I had mentioned at the last meeting, the resignation of our treasurer, but also have secured and provided the resume of a replacement. This individual I've known for some time, and as you can see by his resume, he's a CPA, a certified fraud examiner, and has extensive experience in a town government arena, if you will. So I think he will be a very capable replacement. We will still, he is from Manchester, but he will and is planning on coming down on a more regular basis. But we will still utilize our deputy treasurer probably to sign checks and the like. But
I have to say, I am very impressed by his resume. This is great.
and as you know, mentioned, he did do some work in between jobs. He had helped me out last fall with the budget. So as I said, I've known him for a while and have nothing but positive to say. So he knows his stuff, and he is a good person on top of that. So.
And how many hours a week, month is the role?
Probably, probably 3 to 5 hours a week, more at the end of the month with reconciling, the accounts, and
Right.
it depends on how many transfers need to be made, the activity and the like.
Right.
The majority of the activity does run through the general fund though, and we have a separate payroll account that we have to do transfers, the fund payroll and the like, but
Mhm.
3 to 5 hours a week on average.
Right. You ready?
Does anyone have any other questions, concerns?
No, I think the good thing is he's worked here before, so he's familiar with the town hall. I think the resume it is a good resume.
Yeah, I think he's
I
got
mean,
the
you know,
qualifications.
I don't see any holes in it. To go, it's
He has the municipal experience, that's for sure.
right.
Yeah.
It's kind of everything you're looking for. It's 3 to 5 hours a week. He's willing to come down more often than we've had before. That's a positive.
Okay. If anyone wants to make the
A
motion?
motion to appoint Scott Egan as treasurer for the town of Plastow beginning May 1st, 2024. This motion is based on the recommendation of the town manager, Greg Colby, and seconded by
Me, TMA.
Second by Tammy. Any other discussion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 500.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Greg. All right. Next up, we have approve liquidation of a police cruiser.
So to recap, the board had approved the purchase of 2 replacement cruisers last fall and took delivery of said vehicles last October. We have been waiting on getting them outfitted. They've been parked over at the highway garage. As some of you may have seen, I believe on Facebook and the postings, Kelly Graphics has recently started putting the graphics on one of them, and the police chief and captain have been able to secure a second company to do the outfitting of the cruisers, the light bars, the sirens, the radios, and the like. The first one that we had used was not getting back to us and was not very timely with the work, hence why they've sat since October. So Now that Kelly Graphics has done one of the cruisers, it will be off to do that. So that having been said, that makes the oldest car, which is on its last legs, disposable. So the police chief has reached out to get authority for us to sell it at state auction, which is usually coming up in May. So
Okay. It says it's beyond repair and no residual value. Are we expecting to get anything from the auction?
I would imagine we'll get something for it. Hard to tell how much. So
Yeah.
we'll.
Do we know what's wrong with it where it says it's beyond repair?
I'm not sure.
There's no use in town for this, it's beyond repair, it's,
We would, if we would take the best of the cars and try to put them in.
gotta ask the question.
I understand that. And I would hope that you would. So, yeah, we're working on one, we have one of the cars that we've repurposed for the building inspection department. So we are good for now.
Okay.
Now, whatever we get from the auction, what fund will it go back into?
It'll go into the general fund
Okay,
and be miscellaneous revenue for the 2024 year and go towards the tax rate in the fall.
okay.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion to sell the vehicle.
I'll make a motion to allow the police department to liquidate and dispose of cruiser number 9. It is a 2017 Ford Explorer PIU. The vehicle is beyond repair and has no residual value. The vehicle will be sold via auction.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Liz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries 500.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next up is the summer schedule. So figured we'd plan to just knock off the summer schedule now. We'll continue on the bi-weekly schedule. So if we're looking at, right, so July 1st, I'm going to be out of town that week. So I was thinking we would, and we're going to be closed, town hall will be closed the 4th anyway, so,
The week nobody.
you know, that's a week people aren't going to be around, so I'm figuring
And the 22nd.
the 8th and the 22nd. But let's go back to June, so the 20th of our last meeting of May, and then the 27th would be Memorial Day, so that would be the last Monday in May. So that would mean the 3rd would be our first meeting in June. Does that work for everybody? Okay, so then we'd go to the 17th of June. So following that, we would skip the 1st and go to the 8th. So we'd probably have, what, a 2-week? So we'd have a 2-week hiatus and then meet July 8th, June 22nd, August 5th, August 19th. Does that work?
Yeah.
Anyone have any conflicts with that? Okay.
I don't know what I'm having for breakfast, how do I know tomorrow?
So are we meeting May 13th?
So we will be meeting
Or is it
The
May
13th.
May
20th?
13th and May 20th because we have, yeah, so we'll be meeting the 13th and the 20th,
Okay.
okay? Because we have the 27th is Memorial Day, so we won't have that every other week, so we're going to do 2 weeks in a row.
Okay.
All right, so next up, we have on the agenda, I asked the town managers to put together just a review of the Public Works Garage solar energy, just of how those panels are performing and how it's benefited the town. So he put together a little packet of information for us, and he just asked him if he'd go through that with us. So,
And we'll also get this posted on the website too for those that may want to look at it. But what I basically did was there's 3 pieces of information in front of you. One, off the portal, if you will, over the solar energy, there's a colored graph there. So you can see there's 4 years of information. The 2021 year is very short because the panels did not go online until December of that year, but red is 2022, the blue 2023, and so far this year, green is 2024. So you can see by month the monthly generation of electricity, if you will, from the solar panels. So it ranges, anywhere from, 2 million, I guess, watt hours all the way up to almost 7.5 in May of 23, I believe. So it's, not knowing what the weather was every day, but you can certainly see the trends. February, like this year, must have been extremely cloud-free and bright because it blew away the last 2 years. But as we all know, last summer and the like was very, cloudy. So from the first year to the second year, there was definitely a decrease. I also there's a second page there that at the top of it talks about billing period and then kilowatt hour offsets with offset amounts. I went through all of 2023 bills that the town has received from Unitil, including the first 3 months of this year. What it basically is showing that for 2023, there was 25,813 kilowatt hours offset to the electric bill directly for $6,135. In addition to that, in the months of May through November, there was excess generation in those months, which go back as a net meter credit for that month. So that what happens is Unitil, based on the kilowatt cost per hour, gives the town a credit on its bill in excess of the bill. So during those months, the credit, we are not paying anything basically in those months for the electricity, but it is used in subsequent months. So that total net meter credit was $3,200. So basically for 2023, the town received $9,500, if you will, as offset to its electricity cost. In addition to that, the town has received between $2,000 and $2,500 from Knollwood Energy as its credits they pay over on a quarterly basis in addition to this. So as part of the solar conversion, that means that we're between $11,000 and $12,000 last year as to the good, if you will, or less in costs. The third one is just a by-month breakdown that you can look at, year over year. It basically takes the color graph and put it into a table format for each month. And it's kind of all over the place, obviously being weather dependent.
right.
Hard to draw any conclusions, if you will, or any trends. It's not really trendable.
So when do we break our initial investment? Have we?
No, I mean, I believe we were somewhere around, I think they cost 75,000. So I think they were expected around 10 years. And I think we may be ahead of that, but it'll be a few more years before we hit break even.
And what was the life expectancy out there?
20 or 30 years, I believe.
I think it was,
So once you get 10, if you get an extra 20.
But again, we'll get this information on the website as well.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good information.
We probably should.
You did give it to me. Probably in the file, yeah. I will go get it.
Well, thank you for that. I know there's a lot of number crunching and digging to pull that information together, so I appreciate you doing that.
No problem.
And then I think, last but not least, we have the ARPA funds on here.
Let's do the consent agenda.
You want to do that first? Okay.
Yeah, one piece of information didn't get into the folder. It's best just going to go and grab that.
Okay. All right, so, I'll talk very slow. Should
I'll
I
take
do
notes.
that?
Go ahead.
So for the consent agenda, approval for tonight, we have the accounts payable manifest for the week of April 25th and May 2nd, 2024, the BOS draft minutes of April 15th, 2024, 3 elderly tax exemption applications, 2 veterans tax credit applications, 2 2023 abatement request applications, and then 2 additional items, water consumption fee, cycle 1, 2024, and permit to conduct a raffle, Sons of the American Legion. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for April 29th?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 500. All right,
Do we know where the manifest is?
We had software issues
Okay.
today, so we weren't able to finalize the manifest.
Okay. I didn't know if I was missing something.
Goes this way.
do you want to just go into the town manager's report for now?
Sure, that is fine. Let's see, been a busy couple of weeks as usual. Making progress. We had, based on the needs and the like, we had reached out and got quotes for extending internet out to both Park and Smith Fields. The internet to Park is almost there because we're also, as part of the reason to do that is to get security cameras out there and the like, but knowing, cell phone coverage being what it is, but also the recreation program running out there and the like, they can better utilize, tools and the like, having access to the internet. Also out at Park, Dan told me that they're making good progress on the irrigation system, because of the lightning strike that we had happened last fall. The irrigation system is in need of repair, so we're making progress on that. I've got probably 4 things that are in the works to go before governor and council. One of them looked at the agenda and thankfully is on Wednesday. So the extension of the PFAS grant is going before governor and council on Wednesday. Obviously, with the appointment of the new treasurer, I've spent time getting the records in the bank, securing the replacement, getting things in order to make that changeover. We did get the first quarter billing for water finalized, over the last couple of weeks. The work getting the cruisers up and going, various meetings, Westville Road, the state, department heads. We did just find out, though, that with the traffic calming project, the state engineer that was assigned to the project, Matt Lamprin, is not with that division anymore, and they weren't sure whether we have an engineer assigned for us for the traffic calming project. So I don't know what that means, but we'll certainly look into it and find out. So certainly it's been delayed long enough. So.
Did I see the new cruisers? They're changing the paint scheme on them?
Yeah.
Just
A
so
little different design.
Which is fine, just so everyone will know when they see up the street, okay.
Yes.
I'm sure so we'll have 2 different color cruisers for a while.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Greg. All right, so on the agenda next, we're going to is review of the ARPA funds. So this is a American Recovery Act grant that the town received some years ago in 2021. And I've asked the town manager to put together, just a timeline of when we received it, how much we've spent, what we have left. And we do have a timeline on when we have to spend the remaining funds or we'll lose it. So I'll hand it back over to him to talk through that.
So yes, back in 2021, the town received two payments of approximately $403,000, or a grand total of $807,000. We have had that in a very productive interest-bearing account. So within the 4 years since then, we've earned over $45,000, which adds to the amount that's available that we can spend. So we have, as you can see, back in 2021, $250,000 we put towards the fire truck. In 2022, police, fire, and highway all benefited with equipment, cruisers, sidewalk plow, I believe. And then in 2023, we have committed some more of that to the police and fire department. We still have so that's, gives us approximately 600,000 of the 853, leaving 252,000 roughly. We still have the cruiser setup that remains. What has been spent is the purchase of the cruiser. In 2024, we do not have the bills yet. I have the quotes, but I'm setting aside that money for cruiser. And then we had approved the speed trailer purchase out of ARPA as well. So basically, that leaves us somewhere in the neighborhood of $210,000 of ARPA money to formally commit by the end of 2024 or spend, or if it's not spent, we have to commit it so that it is either contract or the like. But then we have either into 25 or 26 suspended after that.
Okay.
But we need to nail down the projects of what we're going to use the rest of it by the end of this year, and spend probably,
Are there any limitations on what you can't use this for?
government purpose. We chose the revenue replacement option for the declaration of this money. So it basically means it can be used for any government service, any government that we would normally do as part of running the town government.
Like a roof at the fire department?
If it was enough, yes.
Okay.
Are there other things that you've identified?
There are over and above, yes. One of the items that I have gotten quotes on that I would want the board to consider is an electronic message board out front, replacing the current one that we do by hand, similar to the library. That we could get one installed there and leave the brick and the same setup that we have now, just replace it, that it would be a whole lot easier and a lot more informational if we can rotate messages, put immediate messages out there. So that is one item that I have identified.
Yeah, you could do it on the fly.
Yep.
You had to.
Correct.
How about any repairs over at Smithfield? You got that court there, there's some cracks in it.
Right, we had received, I think the recreation director had sent us along, so I know there's a few things that are there that we can consider as well.
Do we have any idea how much that message board would be?
Roughly $30,000 with installation of the electrical,
I
30
I'll
to
be honest, I
35.
really think it's a necessity at this point, you know, because you can put all kinds of safety messages out there.
Well, if something's going on in town and you need to
Yeah.
put an alert out there, you
Yeah.
can do it quick.
Yep.
How much
And-
time does it take someone to put, I don't know, I saw like 5 messages or 5 events up there. How long does it take someone to sit there and put up on both sides of it?
I'm not sure. At least an hour, I would imagine, because they've got all the letters. You got to determine what you want. And then probably back at the maintenance, they're laying out all the letters. Then they're coming down here and you know, feeding them all up on both sides.
You just type it in from a computer and send it over
Send
to
it,
the.
yeah.
So
So-
that's a number one on your list right now?
It's pretty high up there, yes. I think in this day and age, you know, I do think would be very beneficial.
Yes.
Like I look at what we've used the money for. We've used it for a lot of our fire and police apparatus. Like I'd like to see things that we use this for is that people can see and touch,
Mhm.
that people can like physically benefit from it. You know,
I would think that would be one of them.
that would be something that our residents could benefit from it. You know, maybe fixing the basketball courts at at Ingles.
There's
That
some
could
pretty
be
big cracks there.
benefit, you know, maybe, you know, another speed sign somewhere. Like that's things that might benefit our residents. Like,
Yeah, because the speed signs, everybody talked to Dan about that. He had mentioned,
you know,
if you put some brackets up in different parts of the town, then it's just a matter of taking the sign down, popping it up somewhere.
shuffle them around, you
Right.
know.
Could we actually get like those traffic signs that we could get the message from what's on what we put out front? And if there's an emergency or something going on in town, like the parade rerouting,
Right.
to message it there as well.
Yeah. You know, those are different things that we could potentially use it for. So I guess we'd have to, you know, come up with a list of those types of things and, you know, prioritize, see how much it's all going to be. And
What about like roads, like, you know,
Road
big
signs.
potholes and damage done to different streets?
I think it's almost like each department kind of have see what they're looking
Maybe
Well,
have them
yeah.
make a wish list.
I think that's what we discussed at our last meeting of
Right.
getting all the department heads to make a little bit of a wish list, you know, put it out there, your top 3. And we overlook all their top 3, what they would like to see, and then go from there. But I'll be honest, I like this idea of having this message board. I think it's, you know, what they're doing out there and what we're probably spending on somebody having to do it and all types of weather. This is just, it makes more sense. Somebody could sit at the keyboard, type it in, and it's out there. You know, I mean, we have the library that's doing it. This is town hall. We should be
doing
ahead of that.
Trying to bring us into the current century.
Yeah, we got to get into the times today. So, I mean, if,
Let's put together a nice list, work
Yeah.
at it, get together with the town.
Well, that's, I've reached out to department heads and, you know, they're working on it and, you know, things of that nature.
so come back in a meeting or two and maybe
And give them a little more time.
talk through a list and
Yep. I said I was, at least wanted to get the numbers and what we're looking at, you know, dollar wise, so that, you know, people can, you know, have an idea and, you know, as a basis for start the discussion.
okay.
Right, when you have cruisers set up on here, is this for the second cruiser as well?
The second cruiser is being paid for out of the capital reserve fund. So we did one from ARPA, one from capital reserve.
I'm hoping police that you put them on the right schedule now.
I believe so. And I know, you know, the fire department, you know, the chief does recognize, you know, that there's a lot that has been put towards, equipment and, things. So he's,
Yeah, for vehicles, they should be in pretty good shape.
although when you're 40 months out to order something.
I get that, but the ladder truck should be in, hopefully in the next 6 weeks, right?
Yes, I mean, the pictures look like it's coming along, that's for sure. We post them every Friday, so.
Alrighty. Anything else on that list? ARPA. All right, we'll talk about that again at future meeting. I don't have the action item list in front of me, but we've done a lot tonight. We'll skip that. I'll give everyone a break tonight. How's that?
Button up your shirt, your hat might fall off.
Yeah, I know. Let's see, selectmen's reports. We'll start with Liz.
I attended the budget meeting last week for their reorganization, and congratulations to Doug Thompson as he's the new chair, as the vice chair, and they also filled a position, which was mine, and it went to Tyler Shorman, and congratulations to him.
All right,
Right.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tammy.
Nope, nothing.
All right, Bill.
I had a planning board meeting. One of the big discussions is the possibility of 9 lots going in with property that the Haverhill Country Club owns. It's actually in Plastow. So at our next meeting on, I believe it's not the one this week, but the after, I believe it's the 15th. The public hearing will be continued till then, but also before that meeting, and the public is welcome. There'll be a site walk of that property at on Wednesday, 5/15 at 5 o'clock. Everyone will be meeting at Country Club Road 108 where it comes together. So anybody who's interested that wants to walk the property and see it back there, to take a look.
What day?
It's a Wednesday, 5/15 at 5. Public is invited. That's it.
Thank you. Sean?
I don't really have much, to be honest with you. I mean, we've got, the biggest thing that I can say is we need volunteers for Old Home Day. That's something that, if you've got an hour of your day,
Half hour.
half an hour, we're on a limited staff, and we're all giving our all. We really appreciate if some citizens would come in, give us a little bit of a helping hand, and enjoy the day as well. So that's where I'm at.
This would be a prime example of that
Volunteers.
board out front could be flashing, volunteers needed.
That could go 24/7.
Yep.
Right.
When is that next meeting? Goes home day?
I don't have it on my list in front of me right now. What do you got, Jay?
I don't have anything. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting of the budget committee, so thank you, Liz, for stepping in for me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate that. I did have a list of events that I'm trying to find, so there is a town-wide yard sale
May 11th.
that's coming up on Saturday, May 11th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You do have to register for that if you want to participate. I believe you have to contact Recreation. So please reach out to Recreation Department if you're interested for that. So thank you. And I believe that's it for events. Any other business anyone wants to bring up?
Just to recap, Bill had asked when the next Old Home Day Committee meeting was, and that's on the 7th.
May
That
7th.
that happens at the Historical Society,
What time?
6 o'clock.
So if anybody's interested, come on down. They'd love to have you.
Come on down, get your feet wet.
Alrighty. And it looks like we have non-public for this evening.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll have non-public under J, legal,
Legal, yes.
or L.
Under L.
Someone want to make a motion to go into non-public under L?
I make a motion to enter non-public session under RSA 91A:3, under section L.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. All right, we will be going into non-public, and we will be returning to public afterwards, but we won't be televised. So, thank you. Have a good night.
good night.
Right?